Welcome to 8-Minute Masterpieces, where we turn classic literature into bite-sized experiences. Today we'll be diving into Vox by Christina Dalcher, a dystopian novel that explores power, control, and the consequences of silence. Let's unravel the story and see what happens when a society strips women of their voices, literally. In Vox, we're introduced to Dr. McClellan, a renowned linguist who, just a few years ago, had a promising career ahead of her. Set in a future America, the novel portrays a theocratic regime that has drastically limited women's rights. Under the new government, women are restricted to speaking only 100 words a day. This control is enforced by a device called a counter, which counts the number of words a woman speaks. When a woman exceeds her daily quota, the counter emits a painful shock. Jean lives with her husband Patrick, a government official who seems to have fully embraced the new order, and their 3 children. The society is rigidly segregated, with men enjoying all the freedoms of the pre-regime world, while women are relegated to silence and subjugation. Jean's daily existence is reduced to almost complete silence, until one day everything changes. The government, facing a medical crisis, calls upon her expertise. They need her to help develop a cure for a rapidly spreading disease that only women can be infected by. Jean's skills are in high demand, but there's a catch. She's only allowed to work if she wears a special counter to keep her in check, counting her words just like every other woman. This is just the beginning of Jean's internal battle between surviving in this oppressive society and resisting its dehumanizing forces. Jean's life is consumed by the 100-word limit, and the frustrations she faces are profound. Her interactions with her children are clipped and strained. Her relationship with Patrick has soured. She can no longer express herself freely, and the psychological toll is evident. We see Jean attempting to maintain control over her family while silently questioning her existence in this regime. The deeper the story goes, the more we realize that the silencing of women isn't just physical, but also social and emotional. Women are prohibited from speaking out against the regime. They are expected to submit, to shrink themselves into silence, even in the face of tyranny. However, as Jean begins her work on the project to develop a cure, she reconnects with an old friend named Dr. Nix, a fellow linguist who shares her resistance to the system. Nix urges Jean to work with her on ways to fight back. While Jean's initial focus is solely on saving her own family, she slowly starts to realize the larger implications of what's happening. She's not just a passive victim of this regime, she could be the key to dismantling it. Through Jean's eyes, we see the subtle, insidious effects of patriarchal control over women's voices, and we witness her growing awareness of the personal and political implications of silence. As Jean dives deeper into the medical research, she discovers that the disease is a result of the regime's oppressive policies, making women more susceptible to it. This realization intensifies her feelings of betrayal and outrage. Her internal struggle grows stronger as she's forced to balance the need to survive with her desire to break free from the regime's control. In the meantime, the situation at home becomes more tense. Patrick's compliance with the regime is clear. He's not just a passive participant in the silencing of women. He benefits from it. His lack of empathy for Jean's situation starts to become more apparent, and the distance between them grows. He defends the regime's actions, citing them as necessary for maintaining order and progress. Despite the growing tension at home, Jean's resolve begins to solidify. She begins to meet secretly with Nix, exploring possible solutions to the government's abuses. Nix shares with Jean a plan to smuggle an antidote to the disease to the affected women, bypassing the government's restrictions. As their secretive meetings continue, Jean finds herself increasingly drawn into the resistance, realizing that her expertise is vital, not just for curing the disease, but for resisting the tyranny that has taken over her world. The stakes are raised, and Jean faces a choice: continue to comply and protect her family, or risk everything for the chance to fight back and reclaim her voice. As Jean becomes more involved in the resistance, her relationship with Patrick continues to deteriorate. The cracks in their marriage become impossible to ignore. Jean's silence, once a symbol of her compliance, begins to symbolize her internal rebellion. She no longer wants to live in a world where her voice doesn't matter. But the cost of speaking out is steep. Her involvement in the resistance leads to dangerous consequences. Patrick finds out about Jean's secret meetings with Nix, and the consequences are immediate. He betrays her, turning her in to the authorities. In an act of brutal punishment, the regime places Jean under heightened surveillance, monitoring her every move and speech. They force her to wear the counter at all times, increasing the pressure and danger. As Jean's options narrow, she is faced with the harsh reality that her life, her family, and her career are now at risk. Her relationship with Patrick is beyond repair, and the betrayal cuts deeply. Yet even as she faces betrayal, Jean's resolve strengthens. She now understands the full extent of the regime's oppression and has no choice but to act, regardless of the consequences. In the book's gripping final act, John decides to take a stand, knowing full well that it may cost her everything. She and Nix finalize the plan to release the antidote, aiming to free the women affected by the disease. But their mission is far from simple. As they race against time, they face countless obstacles: surveillance, resistance from government forces, and their own fears of what might happen if they fail. Jean finally confronts Patrick, who tries to sway her one last time, urging her to abandon the rebellion for the sake of her family. But Jean, now fully awakened to the horror of the world she lives in, refuses. She chooses to speak out, to take back the voice that was stolen from her. With courage, determination, and the help of the resistance, Jean completes her mission and sets the stage for a new future. Though the story ends on a bittersweet note, Jean's journey is one of self-liberation and reclaiming power over her own body and voice. Vox explores themes of power, silence, and the dangers of unchecked authoritarianism. The novel's central theme is the power of voice, both literal and metaphorical, and how silence can be used as a tool of oppression. The regime in Vox doesn't just seek to control women's speech, it seeks to control their thoughts, their actions, and their very identities. Through Jean's journey, Dalcher examines how the silencing of women leads to the dehumanization and marginalization of an entire group, reducing them to mere vessels of reproduction and service. The novel also touches on the complicity of those who go along with oppressive regimes, as seen through Patrick's character. His willingness to betray his wife for the sake of the status quo reflects how individuals can become numb to cruelty when it benefits them. The novel challenges us to reflect on our own roles in society and how easily power can corrupt. It asks, what happens when we let fear and control dictate our lives? How do we find our voices again when they've been stolen from us? Vox is a powerful reminder of the importance of speaking out against injustice, no matter the cost. Thanks for watching this summary of Vox by Christina Dalcher. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned for more summaries and deep dives